Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at jonnydelsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. Another Friday the 13th. What is going on is the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast. Welcome in honor of Will the Thrill, Will Clark's birthday today. In honor of that, no fluff. He was a no fluff ball player. Today is a no fluff show, Johnny. We're getting right into it. I really want to say I told you so on Dre Greenlaw. Let's go. Let's go.
No.
Drake, we got Dre Greenlaw.
Here's the thing. I was saying that I didn't want Dre Greenlaw for $10 million a year.
Yeah.
That was my issue. Was Dre at that contract with that injury history at 7.5? I didn't think he was going to take Alex Anzalone money. I didn't. I really felt like, if you compare these guys, Dre is clearly a better linebacker than Alex Anzalone, and it's not close. So I figured he was going to go get 10, 11 million a year in a contract, but it's what we've talked about. The injury history scares teams. A guy who has not played a full season starting in his career has never done that, and we are going into year 8 in his career. If you go back to his rookie year, he appeared in every game, but he didn't start every game because he wasn't a starter in that year. We have to remember that Quan Alexander was the starter, and then Quan got a high ankle sprain, and that's when Dre came in and he started turning heads, and we were like, wow, there's something to this Dre Greenlaw kid. But then Quan got healthy, and he went right back in the lineup, and then Quan tore his pec. And that's when Dre came in and finished out the rest of the year. The next year, he missed a game. And then after that, he missed almost the entire season of 2021. He only played in 2 games. Then he played 15 games the next year, missed 2 games. Then he played 15 games the next year, missed 2 games, and tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl. And then he missed almost all of 2024. And then this last year with the Broncos, he only appeared in 8 games, started 7. So the injury history is real. You only have 30 starts in over 2 seasons. Like when you put those together, in the last 5 years, it's 41 starts over the last 5 seasons. You're averaging less than 9 starts a year for Dre Greenlaw over the last 5 years. But I will say, if for $7.5 million you get 9 starts from Dre, I'm good with that. You have D Winters that's also there. I think this also is clearly a message to D Winters. Last year, we expected you to take a bigger step. You had flashes, but you have got to be better. You have got to take another step this year. I think they're sending that message to a lot of rookies this year. We've heard the noise around Renardo Green and Ricky Pearsall this offseason. I think those are real to try and send the message to these guys. Going into next year, you have got to show that you are the dude we thought you were going to be. Because if not, then we are moving on after this year. This is your last year to Ricky's going to be in year 3, Renardo Green in year 3, D Winters in year 4. You have got to take that step. You've got to become who we think you are, or we are going elsewhere, and we will find your replacement. So I do really like the Dre Greenlaw signing at this price point and what it's going to do to push the team. They've also needed a third linebacker. So this gives you that. This gives somebody in there for Nick Martin to emulate. But the questions, I still have questions about Nick Martin and his health with the head injury. I just don't know. It's deeply concerning to me to see a guy out for 6+ weeks with a head injury. And usually they're never the same. Like either they're less violent for understandable reasons, or there is starting to be them as concern or issues, lingering issues. So hope he's okay. Hope he can be show up and be a great player, because you'd hate to see that 3rd round pick go to waste.
So, thank you to Cayman's Island, checks in a couple times. We'll talk about brisket here in a second, but the super chat, he did come back for a sandwich. He wants to be there. I want to ask you, Johnny, about our defense real quick. In a fantasy world, and honestly, here's a thought I had. If I'm playing Madden next year and I can set my defense with no injuries, my dream lineup. So we'll talk about the Cowboys are starting to trade players to teams that always beat them in the playoffs. We have a new defensive tackle to talk about. So I'm just curious now, in your dream world, give me your starting we'll just go. I'm curious about D-line and linebackers. In a perfect world, based on humans inside our locker room as of right now. I'm not
Right.
talking about health. So with
Right.
our
Right.
players,
So with that, when you're looking at, we'll start it with defensive line. It's going to be Bosa, Osa, Alfred Collins, and Michael Williams. That's your front 4 that you're going to have.
sick. That's a
So
sick.
which is a really strong front 4.
Yeah.
Osa, and I talked about this after the trade happened, and I went live with some film on Wednesday night. I went over even some more film yesterday with Rob. Osa is a 3-down player. I keep seeing this on there that people are like, well, I've heard he's not great against the run. I've seen some things that he's not great against the run. I don't care what people have seen. I watched the tape. Dude is and I remember watching the tape back when he was with the Cowboys and we were beating them in the playoffs. Remember when we played the Cowboys in the playoffs in 2022, this was not a blowout win. And a guy that jumped off the tape to me that year was Osa Odighizuwa. I had to learn who his name was, because
Yeah.
one thing that
We talked about him
reminds me of something, and I think after that episode or that game we were talking about it, and I
on
said,
Sunday Night
watch out
Football.
for this guy. He's going to
Yeah.
be a guy, because I remember watching their front and I was like, he's the dude that's actually really impressing me on their front, because he was good against the run, he was good against the pass. And I don't like giving Dallas their flowers. I mean, remember we scored like 19 points in that game, and I remember at one point stopping the film, like, who is this 97? This dude is a dude.
Yeah.
And so he's been somebody that has been on my radar for a number of years as a 3-down defensive tackle. When we just go back and watch the 2024 tape with or games of the Cowboys, I know that sounds like it makes you want to vomit in your mouth, but if you watch the 2024 Cowboys, he played like 80% of the snaps for them. This was not a team that that was sitting there saying, okay, he's only a specialist pass rushing defensive tackle. He's not. He's a 3-down defensive tackle. And we did not have a 3-down defensive tackle last year. We had Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis, Alfred Collins, CJ West. And you know which of those 4 was slotted to be a pass rusher on 3rd down? No one. We had Yetur Gross-Matos was your inside pass rusher on 3rd down. Michael Williams would slide inside and be your inside pass rusher on 3rd down. We had no defensive tackles who were brought in to rush the passer. They were all run stoppers. And we saw the problem with that approach. Once you had Yetur Gross-Matos dealing with his injury problems, you had Micah Williams torn ACL. Suddenly the 49ers defense, and that was also why people have said, the 49ers defensive tackles only had like 3 sacks last year. Well, part of it was because none of them were on the field when they were rushing the passer for the first 6 games when we had our pass rushing juice. The other problem was they just weren't supposed to be pass rushers. That's not what they were brought in for. They were all brought in to be run stuffers because we had been so bad against the run in 2024. And so they leaned heavily into the run. They said, we'll get specialist pass rushers. Bryce Huff was meant to be a one-down guy, third down. Yetur Gross-Matos was meant to be a one-down guy on third down. That became a problem as the injuries piled up because you didn't have defensive tackles who could rush the passer. You didn't have defensive ends who could stop the run. And so now what you're seeing is they're going in a direction that says we're picking guys who can be 3-down players. That's who they're trying to pick up. You see that here, or guys that can play more than one spot in one specific role. And we'll get to that with Nate Hobbs too. But that's what Osa brings, is he's a 3-down defensive tackle who can play multiple spots along the line. So that becomes your day one base package is Bosa, Osa, Alfred Collins, Michael Williams. Then your third down pass rush package is going to be Bosa, Michael, Osa, and then to be determined.
And Bosa
on
again,
the other side.
as Cayman's Island jokingly. Thank you
again. So myself and Cayman, we talked on the phone last night. I don't believe that Joey Bosa is the right route for that because, again, it comes down to you need guys who win at different levels. Bosa, Joey, wins at the same level as Bosa, Nick. It's that they're specialists and really good at winning at that 5-yard depth mark. You need a speed rusher. Joey Bosa is not a speed rusher, especially at this point in his career. He is not a speed rusher. We had Bryce Huff, who apparently just retired yesterday, posted on his Instagram. It was one of those things I saw it from an account I didn't recognize.
He read a statement.
He read his statement in what looked like the Windows ME background, like he was out in the Windows ME background field. I was like, either that or you were in Ireland. That's
but
what
it's for a good cause. We can
because he's starting a tech company. So okay. But anyways, he retired. He's gone. So that does give the 49ers some cap relief, but it's to be determined, and it is a little frustrating that he's gone now because they sent a 4th-round pick for him.
Yeah.
But he's got to do what's best for him. He's got to make decisions best for what's best for him and his family and his career and his health and everything. But I do think this now puts, because I was really leaning into the 49ers picking a tackle at 27 with the way things have gone this week. And now I'm back to defensive end. I think it's going to be an edge. They need a speed rusher. So that's what you need. You need a specialist speed rusher who's going to be able to win at the 7-yard mark and a guy who can do that really well. Because then you have Bosa at 5 and you have Michael and Osa there to rush up the middle. And so the idea is you don't want to give quarterbacks anywhere to go. They can't drift backwards and out. They can't stay where they are, and they can't step up. That's what you've got to do. So that's how I look at it. I know the idea of Bosa and Bosa sounds really great. I'm not sold on it. Maybe, if it happens and I see it around next year in September and we see good receipts off of it, I'll be real excited. But I like, you need the Jared Verse and Byron Youngs of the world. You need guys who can win at different levels. They all can't be a Jared Verse. They all can't be the speed rusher. They all can't be the Micah Parsons. You've got to have, Sonic and Knuckles here, guys that can do multiple things there and win at different levels. So that's what I think. So with that, you're going to see Bosa, Michael, Osa, and then somebody else. As far as that, and then your nickel is going to be, if I go to linebackers, my day one, Mike and Will is going to be Fred and Dre. I mean, obviously, I think that there's a no-brainer there. That just the level of football IQ, acumen, and abilities of Dre is there. D Winters is your third guy. He's going to play your Sam. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with that Sam in Raheem Morris's defense. Last year, we were playing with 5-man fronts, and it was Luke Gifford, and it was a bigger body. I don't know if they're going to do that. We're going to have to see. I think the draft's going to tell us what they want, because they're going to draft certain body types for how this defense is going to look. The draft is going to tell us a lot about what this defense is going to look like, because of the body types that they get. That's who they're. To me, your your day one starters at safety need to be Malik Mustafa and Marquise Siegel. I know everybody's saying we need to get a safety. We need to get a safety. We need to get a safety. I'm not sold on that we need to get a safety. We need our young safeties who have really good traits to ascend and become dudes. Like I'm not throwing in the towel on Malik Mustafa. Dude has never had a complete offseason with the 49ers. You know, he had his rookie year. That was not a full offseason. That was him training for the combine. That was him leading up to the draft. That's him getting an abridged offseason of OTAs and training camp. And then last year, he was rehabbing from the knee. He didn't have a real offseason last year. He wasn't getting the reps. He wasn't getting on-field drills. He wasn't getting that stuff. Like, so he didn't get OTAs. He didn't get mini camps. He didn't get training camp. So he needs to take advantage of this full off season he's going to have to really develop and become the dude we thought he looked like in year one. Now he's going to have that full off season to do that and become the guy on that side, be able to practice with everybody else. Marquise Siegel had all the traits in the world, really struggled with communication. Now you get a chance to sit in the lab, look back on your rookie year, to look at what year is going to be required of you to become, to go to your, write your doctoral dissertation in playing football this offseason and get that. I'm out on Jair Brown. We've seen Jair Brown. I have seen nothing there that over the years has made me say this is going to be a top 5 safety, no matter what he says. So like Jair Brown, I would be willing to move him for a 7th rounder at this point. Like I'm kind of done there. Marquise Siegel has the traits. Incredible speed, incredible range, great trigger. He needs to have that, but he's got to get the coverage side worked out. And then on the outside, it's going to be Renardo Green and Diamador Lenore. Green's got to take a bigger step this year. He's got to really ascend. He doesn't need to be an Ambry Thomas. He needs to be a Diamador Lenore who, you get in the doghouse a little bit and then you work your way out and you ascend out of there. And then your slot's going to be Upton Stout. And so that's your defense. And I'm really happy with that defense. Like, again, if assuming young guys take another step, Malik Mustafa, everybody talks about Nick Amon-Wari. Malik Mustafa has a lot of the physical capabilities to do some of the things that Nick does and be just a dynamic, big, physical, fast sledgehammer in the back end, but he's got to ascend. Like the young guys have got to become big time dudes. And I think the 40 people are saying, well, the 49ers just seem like they're going to try and get 5 starters in the draft. I don't think so. I think they're saying we have guys in the building we think can be there, but they're young and they need to take a big step in development this offseason. A lot of them have a lot of reps under their belt as far in the NFL now. Well, we had a big youth movement the last 2 years, so they've got to ascend. And that's how I look at our defense.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. I would play Madden with that defense all day. All right, let's talk about some of the new players. The chat is starting to ask about Hobbs, and I wanted to see your first thoughts.
Yeah, so Hobbs was a kid. He was drafted, I think, in the 5th round by the Raiders. He played 4 seasons there, got a 4-year, $48 million contract with the Packers, with 25% of it fully guaranteed, so 16 million, or 33% of it guaranteed at $16 million. He dealt with some injuries last year. Played a lot in the slot, wasn't great with them and what they were doing. So they moved on. He was a cap casualty. Some of these teams they just can't afford when guys like we've seen with Dre Greenlaw. The Broncos looked at him and said, okay, we are now starting to face serious things where we've got to look at our cap, like the 49ers have had to do last year. And they say, if you can't be available for us, we have to start moving on. And we can't have these big cap numbers. So he's somebody they signed for $4.5 million. I think this also speaks to what I was talking about with Osa, is now you have a guy who's not just a specialist. You don't have a specialist run stopper. You don't have a specialist pass rusher or guys that only play one position like Guido Gross-Matos. He played rushing 3-tech, didn't play base defensive end. That became a problem when you lost Bosa and you lost Micah Williams. Same thing with Bryce Huff. That became a problem when you lost Bosa and Micah Williams. Now you're playing these guys in base downs, or with Yeter, you can't play in base downs because of the knee. That becomes very difficult for your roster construction because you only get 53 spots. You can't keep 14 defensive linemen. Well, Hobbs is the guy who's now replacing Chase Lucas. Chase Lucas was on the team, and he was a specialist slot guy. He didn't fit the size profile for an outside corner. They tried a little bit in training camp, if you remember, playing him outside. It didn't go great because they wanted to see him. Can you play outside in a pinch? Because the first guy up was Darrell Luter, right? And then after that, they were bringing in somebody else. It wasn't Chase Lucas on the outside. So like when it was Saron Neal. So when you're looking at your roster construction and you say, okay, I have Upton Stout, who's a dedicated slot guy. I have Chase Lucas, who's a dedicated slot guy as the backup. Well, that is a problem when you start dealing with injuries and you need guys to play more than one position. You're taking up a roster spot when you can't necessarily play outside. And so if Renardo's hurt and then Darrell Luter is dealing with something, now who do you turn to? And it was Saron Neal or you know, whatever. So what they're saying is we're going to bring in a guy who's going to be that fourth or fifth defensive back who can play slot or he can play outside. He can do both. We're not getting a specialist slot guy as a backup because this created problems with our roster construction. You're getting a 2-for-1. That's what Nate Hobbs is.
I'm excited. Just depth to me at this point is when we have guys that are a roster that has been getting injured, the more guys that you can bring in that can play the game of football at a decent level, that's what I'm looking for. So I'll take these guys. And again, for what is it, 4 million, Johnny? 4.5?
4.5 million.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean,
yeah,
the 4.5 million tells you this guy is not brought in to be a starter. Like
yeah, yeah.
that is not starter money. That is, we think you're going to be better than a rookie sort of thing.
So now, as you take a look at the roster, Johnny, does anything stand out to you as where it is now, today, March 13th, the roster, the players that are there? Again, I know we have guys that are coming back that are not as healthy today on March 13th, but as it is now, what really sticks out to you that you're excited to see when we talk about the draft, position wise?
I think what excites me is that outside of a speed rusher, you don't have to go get anybody. And I know people are going to disagree with that, but I really do look at this and I say, you don't have to go get anybody. You get to go get uh, guys like, and that's been one of the problems with the 49ers for a number of years is each year they say, we have to go get this.
There's a
So
glaring need. Yeah.
right, 2023, they're sitting there and they say, we have to get a second tight end. And so they reach on Cam Latu. Look, I will say Cam Latu is still with the Eagles and he just signed an extension. He just
I
signed an
don't know why
extension with
I
them.
laugh so much with that,
So
dude.
I will defend my Cam Latu
Yeah,
truthing all
yeah,
day long. No.
and I will laugh all day
But
long.
they said we have to get that. They had Tayshaun Gibson walking out the door, so they said we have to get a safety. We have to get a kicker. And 2023 was one of the worst drafts they've had because they said we have to get these positions. And so you reach on different things and you reach in there. What is better for them is when they go into the first round and they say, let us get the best of these premier positions that are there. Whether it be the best, you know, you're there because what they're going to do, they generally very rarely will give a first round grade to a linebacker. The only linebacker they picked in the first round was Reuben Foster, and I understand why. That dude's measurable, like his college tape and his measurables coming out of college was so good. I was jacked up when they drafted Reuben Foster in the first round, traded up to get him. But if you look at all the other draft picks, these are premier money positions, not just premier positions, but big time money positions. Wide receiver. What are wide receivers getting nowadays? I mean, my goodness. You look at what are tackles getting paid? What are they dealing with Trent Williams? Tackles are getting paid insane amounts of money. Defensive ends are getting insane money. I mean, Jared Verse is going to get like $48 million a year. It's going to be insane what he ends up getting. It's you look at
It's quarterback money.
I already said wide receiver. Quarterbacks. That's what you get. Defensive tackles are getting crazy money. Quinnen Williams is just getting huge money. So like those are the positions they draft in the first round. Micah Williams, Nick Bosa, you have Ricky Pearsall, Javon Kinlaw, Brandon Ayuk, you have tackle at 11. Why am I blanking on his name? Anyways, going back, it's embarrassing when when your brain freezes up. You
Wait,
had Reuben Foster.
offensive tackle?
Yeah, we took him 2018 at number 11. Why am I blanking on his name? He's still with the Broncos.
McGlinchey.
Yeah, McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey. Gosh, I hate it when my brain freezes up like that. The train of thought just derails.
The sideways.
Yeah. But like you look at all those positions, they go for big money positions, guys who are going to make huge contracts because they want those guys on rookie deals. So what this allows them to do is they're going to walk into that first round at 27. It's not going to be the best tackle. It's not going to be the best wide receiver. They're going to build their board with all those positions in the first round. It's going to be the best of, and then Trey Lance, obviously quarterback. So, you have like, these are all big money positions. They want to save that cap money on the most expensive positions in the first round because that's a huge value. So it's going to be the best of a tackle, a wide receiver, a defensive end, maybe a defensive tackle. Defensive tackle is probably lower on the list right now because of the trade for Osa and because you have Michael or Alfred Collins sitting there. So it's going to be wide receiver, tackle, defensive end. That's what I feel like it's going to be there at 27, but it's going to be the best of that. What have they graded out best of that? I was, like I said, I was really leaning towards, I thought it was going to be tackle earlier in the week, then Bryce Huff retires. And so I think it's going to be, one of those three positions at 27. They're going to pick who they have as the highest grade of those. So when it comes to the 49ers on this, I'm excited because they get to take the best player available based upon their valuing of draft picks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're not necessarily taking, like, if there's a standout
They're not reaching.
linebacker,
they're not reaching for anybody.
Well, there is some reaching in that. If there's a guy that's a linebacker that might be the 20th best player in the league, they're not picking him because they don't value that there. So according to their board, it will be the best player available or best value available. I think that's what always throws people off. The 49ers tend to pick best value available, not best player available. Because, and I've talked about this over a number of years, that the draft really isn't like this giant gulf between best player available at 27 and best player available at 32. Like, yeah, you may reach 10 spots, 15 spots. The gulf isn't that big, usually. A lot of it comes around to individual development. I mean, we've seen it with Ricky Pearsall. Everybody said they reached on him. When you look at Ricky Pearsall's separation rates, he's one of the best in the league. If he was able to be there every game, we're not talking about him as a reach. We're saying they went and got a guy and have a guy at a premium position at an incredible value. But he hasn't been able to do that on the field consistently. And that's the challenge. But they tend to pick best value available.
So this super chat from Cornelius I want to get to because it also ties in to a question that I have regarding the offensive line. And so he says, are there any interior offensive lines still in free agency or the draft? And here's my question as a caveat to that is the chat was arguing a little bit earlier when you said, oh, there's nothing like in general. It's just we can take best player. And the chat kind of clapped back a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
And I a little bit agree. I agreed a little bit as far as the offensive line, you could argue. And so this fits with Cornelius is thinking the same thing. So what do you say first to the super chat and then also address my question of could you argue that offensive lineman could be the answer?
Well, I mean, we've got to get better at offensive line. Now, part of that has got to be Dominic Puni has got to take another step. And when I'm talking about young guys developing, Dominic Puni had a very down year. Like, he was not in the last 20 games he's played have not been trending in the right direction. The last 20 to 25 games. So that trend has got to turn around. And so, again, best pathway forward is for who they have in the building to take another step. Dominic Puni's going into year 3. He's got to take another step. Now, they do have a hole there at left guard. They did re-sign Ben Barch, but as we've talked about, like, I love Barch as an offensive lineman, but dude
he's just
cannot
not
play
there.
more than 3 games without getting hurt. I pounded the table in support of Ben Barch last year, and he burned me. And
We
I
all
am
loved him.
saying I
Yeah.
will not trust you ever again. Like, you have got to earn your trust back with me, because everybody told me dude can't stay healthy, and I was like, I believe. And then he got hurt twice last year. So whatever. So but he does give you somebody there that you say, okay, if we have a Connor Colby, we need him to develop. He's got a lot of the traits that you need to fit the scheme. He's got a lot of growth to do, though. His starts this last year were rough. Not as much in the run game. There was some issues in the run game, but really in the passing game, and more like he just was slow to recognize fronts, changes, and the game was a little too fast for him when everything happened. So it was starting to become an issue. But I think if there was anybody in the draft, again, I don't think they would pick him, which hurts my heart because of the way I talked about they do best value available. But if Jennings Dunker is there at 27, you pick that dude and you plug him in and you say, Dom, you're going to move over to left guard. I'm sorry. Well, he played left tackle in college. That's not going to be a big problem. You move Dominic Pooney over to left guard. You get Jennings Dunker in there at right guard, and you get the power gingers over there on the right side with Colton McKivitz and Jennings Dunker, and it will be the red wave coming at you. It's I almost made a really inappropriate joke there, but anyways, filter. But I think that's a clear way to go. I really like, and I've talked about him before, I really like Jake Slaughter out of Florida as a center. I think he would be a great understudy and could be a big time potential for a big time upgrade on Jake Brendel. He's really smart, really understands, and you can see it from. It's not just from my 60 seconds of talking to him. It's from the tape. Like, you see it on the tape how smart he is, how many he was the Jake Brendel of Florida in the sense of the center who was handing out assignments, who in the run game, in the pass game, he was dictating protections. Like, he was that dude. Like, he was going to make sure, okay, we know they like to run, Georgia likes to run these games with these two guys over on this side, so we're going to make that the zone side, and we're going to man up the other side. And so they could do that, and they would be ready for all of Georgia's games and stunts, and it was great. He's also one of the most athletic centers to be tested in the last 30 years. I think he's something like the 10th most athletic center as far as his relative athletic score that's come out. It was like a 9.93, something like that. It was just insane when he tested the combine. He's a guy I really like. People know I like him. And it wasn't just like, this is I always go back to, like, I didn't just walk in and say, I really like Jake Slaughter no matter what. And I'm just biased on that. It was, I watched his tape and I'm like, hey, there's something here to the kid. So I'm going to watch him closely at the Senior Bowl. I want him to give me a reason not to like him. I see him at the Senior Bowl, and all I see is mostly good. Like, of course, everybody's going to lose a rep here or two, but it was very much trending in the right direction. And you say, okay, I really like something here. Can you fit our scheme? He goes to the combine and he shows the athletic measurables that say he really fits our scheme. And so now the pieces of the puzzle are really coming together. And I say, I really like this kid. I think Keelan Rutledge is another guy that really makes a lot of sense. Keelan Rutledge has good tape. He had a good Senior Bowl, and his measurables and his athletic ability fits what the 49ers want to do. So I start seeing that, and I say, okay, if I'm going to go interior offensive line in the draft, I think Keelan Rutledge and Jake Slaughter are guys who are going to be there outside of the first round. I'm not sold that Jennings Dunker is going to be there at 54, and I don't think they'll take an interior guy at 27. I just don't. Like, I think they're going to pick one of tackle, wide receiver, defensive end. I just because of the money that's there. Of course, you're seeing interior guys are getting paid crazy amounts of money too. Guys are getting north of $20 million. So, but and Tyler Linderbaum's contract could force them to look into a Jennings Dunker because he started practicing taking snaps at center. Just saying.
Yeah.
But Jake Slaughter is somebody that I think they'd start looking at and say, okay, do we spend a second round pick on this kid? That's what I start looking at. Okay, you go edge rusher there, you go Jake Slaughter, and you say this is somebody that we could maybe plug in at left guard, and he can play center, and he's going to be that guy where he's going to play left guard while he learns center behind Jake Brendel, because Jake Brendel's not under contract after this year, I don't think, and he's 34 years old. Like the tread's starting to run out on that tire, and it wasn't great to begin with. So those are guys that I look at and I say, okay, I think this makes a lot of sense. These are guys that we start to like, that can be a part of the team going forward.
So, man, as we look to the draft, any other
Cage
moves?
Casey's another guy. Sorry, I had to double check my notes over here. Cage
Oh.
Casey is somebody else I think that could fit. He's from Boise State, interior guy. And Sam Hecht from Kansas State. I think those are two other guys. I think they're going to be there in more that third round range, but the 49ers don't have a third round pick now. You might have to, if they're there in the fourth, you go get them.
So what I was saying is, before the draft, is there anything else? Up pie in the sky is probably Crosby. Like, I'm not thinking that, but like, is there anyone else that for example, and I'm not saying for us, but I'm just giving you an example of someone to think about, is like AJ Brown. We know we don't think he's probably going to stay in Philly, but there's been not a lot of talk, really about it. Is there any other name that is realistic, not AJ Brown, not Max Crosby, like Romeo Dobbs finally got signed by the Patriots? Like, that was another name that was kind of out there. Is there a name that's out there for you that is still out there as we speak, 8 a.m., March 13th? Is there a name for you? And it could be no. I'm just curious.
I have to double check the list. I mean, because signings have been so crazy,
Yeah, fast and furious.
and hard. Like, it really does become overwhelming. Like, try and keep up with it, especially when you're trying to do other stuff. Like, I have a bunch of guys coming out to my house with a bucket truck to trim a bunch of trees this Saturday. So I was driving on the road to go get a brisket from a regenerative farm over in Mississippi, which reminds me, I haven't talked about them in a while. If you're interested in the ideas of regenerative farming, getting your protein sourced from natural ways, higher in omega-3s, which are good for your heart, good for your mind, reduction of toxins in your food, land that isn't treated with Roundup or glyphosate, no commercial fertilizers, animals raised how nature intended them to be. Go check out whiteoakpastures.com/JD49. And you go there, you can get $20 off your first order. They will ship it straight to your door. They have grass-fed, grass-finished beef. They have pasture-raised pork. They have pasture-raised poultry. They have grass-fed lamb. Anything that you're looking at there. I will say, try their pickled okra. My wife loves their pickled okra. They're not a sponsor. They are an affiliate. So they don't pay me to do this. I get a small commission, very small commission from them. But I'm also a customer. I've been a loyal customer for almost 2 years now for White Oak Pastures. That's where I get 90% of the proteins in our house. They have some amazing sausages. You can get cuts that are harder to get through them because they process everything on site. You can get a Denver steak. Most people don't know what a Denver steak is. I will say, look it up. Order you one. A Denver steak will change your life. It is awesome. It's a great, juicy, wonderful piece of meat. I will say, if you've never had grass-fed beef before, if you get a steak, you need to wet age it in the fridge for 14 to 21 days before. So you get it. What I do is I get them in, I write the date on it, put it in my fridge and let it sit there for a couple, 3 weeks. And so you do that. But you can get a Denver steak. You can get picanha steaks. Oh, they're fantastic. They are amazing. They're so full of flavor. They come with a great fat cap on them. Most people look at grass-fed and they think that means it's just super lean and dry. It's not. It's fattened up a different way. It's fattened up on ryegrass, not corn and soy and all these things. So a picanha steak, I love to cook them. I put them in the cast iron skillet, fat cap down, render out a lot of that fat in there, and then it fries it in that. And this is just look it up yourself of grass-fed, grass-finished, natural, regenerative diets of how the fat profile is changed, and it's there. And we're starting to realize that, you know what, these things are things that your body needs. It's good for your eyes. It's good for your hair. It's good for a lot of functions in the body.
My hair?
Go check them out. whiteoakpastures.com/JD49. I'm having these guys over. I'm smoking them a brisket. I got and this again, it's grass-fed, grass-finished. It was USDA choice, right? So this is, it's got a good fat content, big, thick fat cap. I'll trim it down, smoke it on my smoker. I'm going to have these guys over to trim the trees. I was driving back from getting that when Cayman's Island, he sent me a text. He was like, man, what do you think about the Dre deal? And I was like, what Dre deal? Because it's hard to keep up with these things because the things are coming fast and furious. The news. And while I was driving, Dre Greenlaw returned to the 49ers and was there. I think somebody that that team people have been talking about, and they say, you know, we should look at this guy and bring him in. Joel Bitonio is somebody that I've heard a lot of noise about, because Joel Bitonio, once upon a time, is an all-pro guard. I will say, watching the tape from last year when we played them, Joel Bitonio did not look like an all-pro guard at all. So I would not kick the tires on Joel Bitonio. I wouldn't even say if he wants to. Like, if he wants to come in on a cheap deal, he's 35. Okay, we need to be younger as a roster. We don't need to bring in a 35-year-old guard to take a roster spot. He's going to want like $2 million guaranteed, then a contract on top of that. So that's somebody I'm not, you know, necessarily banging down the doors to bring in. You know, there's some linebackers out there. Nick Scott from the Panthers as a safety. Again, he's an older guy.
Okay.
Wasn't great when he was out there. Nick Cross is out there, safety from the Colts. Young guy. Yeah. I think that would be somebody you maybe kick the tires on, reach out to. I think he's wanting a bigger payday than what he's probably getting right now, than what he's sniffing around the market for. I think he may be holding out. I mean, he's 25 years old. He played 95.5% of the snaps for the Colts last year as a safety, and they had a good defense. So he's somebody that I would kind of kick the tires on, but I don't know if you're going to pay him big money. Yeah. I think he wants that second contract payday. The market for safeties is a little thin right now. You know, and I didn't even like him. I'm looking at like Lloyd Cushenberry as a center that's out there right now. He was not good last year. Cushenberry was bad. No interest for me there. Same with Kevin Zeitler, guard. Nick Cross signed with the Commanders. Okay, that must have been fairly recent, because it's not updated on overthecap.com. They do not have that updated. Or is that Cross? Yeah, Nick Cross. Yeah, they don't. That is not. That's not updated here. I think Eric Kendricks is going to play what he's done, what he did last year. Is he's going to wait it out and look for. He wants to play. He doesn't want to sit there as a depth piece. He wants to play. He wants to go somewhere where I think he's going to get a chance his last couple of years to really show that he's still got something left in the tank. So he wants to play. And I say, let him go test what's out there. If somebody gives him an opportunity to do that, hey, more power to him. You know, somebody, not interested there. I know he just got signed. I didn't want him anyways. Nah.
Just a bunch of nods.
Nah. I mean,
hey, we don't want you.
Yeah, I was about to say you could kick the tires again on Juwan Taylor, because he got cut from the he's out there. You know, he got a big payday by the Chiefs, and it's coming up. But no, we already got our swing tackle. We got our guy. So, you know, there's not a lot out there. Like it's all about value and depth pieces, or you're gonna have players, veteran players who are looking for an opportunity. I think one guy that, man, I would kind of like, Charles Omenihu is out there. And I think if you're looking to bring in, you know, I did talk about it. They didn't had the specialist there, but Charles Omenihu is so good in that spot. I don't know. I would bring him in if he was willing to do like 3.5. I'd do it. I'd bring him in, but I mean, because he's not as old as you'd think. Like, it feels like Charles Omena, who's been in the league for like 12 years. He's 29. So he's not that
29?
old. He still has a lot of juice left there. So
he signed with the Commanders too.
Omena signed with the Commanders. When they need to update this stuff, I'm telling you, dadgummit. That's what I'm saying. It's so hard to keep up with this stuff because even the websites that say we have real-time trackers don't have real-time trackers.
Yeah,
this stuff is so
they lied.
Everything.
One thing, we will never lie to you. We will always tell the truth.
We may be missing $7 million. I didn't. Well, there it is. He wasn't going to take 3.5. So
$7 million, double.
Gosh.
Yeah. All right.
This is what happens when I'm watching film on tackles. Is I miss all this information because I downloaded a bunch of film on tackles yesterday and have been watching tape.
Well, we'll give you the weekend, I guess. We'll expect to be back on Monday. Remember also to catch up with your not daily dosage. We come to you 3 times a week. Sports Idiot
and not
Nation.
the stuff you put on fries.
Not the stuff you put on fries.
You said remember to ketchup.
Ketchup. Yeah. Eat your ketchup with your steak like Mahomes. But
that was hilarious. Come on.
Dad joke all the way. Tell me you're dad without telling me you're a dad. And yes, make sure that you take your phone.
Because I have so much gray hair under here. So
well,
that tells me I'm a dad.
At least you have it. Also, take your phone. Look, I'm trying to shout out your show. Will you let me try and help you? I'm not. It's for you, buddy. If you allow me the opportunity, take your phone, people, and when you see people wearing Niner gear, just show them the channel. You don't have to show them my ugly mug. You can show them your favorite video breakdowns that Johnny has done. If you choose to show my ugly mug, I won't be mad at you at all. But make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, because like we went this week, we went different times. I mean, I couldn't even go with Johnny when he went earlier. So Johnny, you've been 3-4 times on this channel this week, right?
Yeah. It's been a crazy week, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at, you sign Mike Evans, you trade for Osa Odighizuwa, you sign Dre Greenlaw, and like in the middle of signing Dre Greenlaw, Bryce Huff retires. So
yeah,
it changed everything so quick. This is one of the more wild 49ers off seasons in a good way in a while. Like we haven't had this much news.
Good content. I love seeing the content about Mike Evans and how he was recruited by George and like showing pictures of them at the Pro Bowl. Like that's just good, wholesome stuff, man. Like how can you not get into that? So hopefully there's some more stuff over the weekend that we can talk through and Johnny can catch up. The website will catch up and we'll have more to talk about. Maybe we'll have a crazy signing on Sunday night. And we can come to Monday morning. But
even honestly, if they don't, I'm good. Like I'm at this point, I feel like I'm good heading into the draft. Like,
I'm just saying, content wise, as a content creator, it's fun.
Now, I will say, it's a long shot, but I wouldn't even be upset if they pulled like a Rams trade last year, like they did with the Falcons, who traded up into that end of the first to get James Pierce, and they gave LA what is the 13th overall pick. If they did something like that for us to get another first round pick next year, just because I already have like the biggest draft crush on Jeremiah Smith out of Ohio State. I know everybody does. I know if you don't know who that kid is, I'm telling you, that kid. I was talking about him last year in the draft cycle. Because I put on some tape to watch Emeka Egbuka and actually Jeffrey Bassa from Oregon. And I was like, who is this receiver from Ohio State? I don't watch a lot of Ohio State football. And I was like, who is this receiver out here? This dude is a beast and a monster. And I looked him up, Jeremiah Smith. I'm like, this dude's going to be a dude. And then this year he was even more. He's going to be like a top 5 pick next year. But hey, if you have any chance to go get that kid and it takes your first round pick this year, I'm all for it.
Do it. Get it done. Get it done for Johnny. All right. So again, be sure to check out other videos. I like paging through and see what have
Oh
the most
yeah, sorry.
views.
I just remember too. Big shout out to everybody because today is the birthday of the YouTube channel. So 7 years this channel's been rolling. Appreciate
Very
everybody
nice. I
for
didn't
being
realize that.
along. Yeah,
Eamon
I
said
well
that, and I didn't
he
realize
did.
what he
Yeah.
meant. Okay.
No, I put it on the old
Noise.
X
Okay.
because YouTube reminded me. I didn't know it was the birthday of the show. 7 years ago, I started this channel with
Wow.
an older laptop and a webcam and a little screen
And
recording.
less
And
gray hair and
yeah, a lot less gray
but
hair. And as one person put it, I look, the videos were like John Madden with Parkinson's. So
God. Oh
we've come a
God.
long way. We've come a long
Yes.
way. But
Yes.
appreciate everybody being along for the ride.
Happy to play a 0.000001% part of that. Very happy. Very cool. On Will Clark's birthday to boot. Go Giants. Watching the World Baseball Classic later tonight. All right. So again, be sure to um check out old videos that have the most views. I like doing that from time to time. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that breakdown against the Seahawks. Like that's awesome. So that really helps the channel show people your phone, and we'll catch you probably Monday unless the world goes weird. You never know. Hit the notification bell. So in the meantime, in between time, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Niners.